If you're here right now, then more than likely you know at least one of these guys on the screen. They're all fitness business coaches, and you're probably following them on Instagram, and you see them every single day on your feed. And this isn't a video to diss any of them. I follow all of these as well, and they give a lot of value. But they often talk about creating content, getting more attention, going viral, automating things with AI, and the standard things, which just talks about posting more content, basically kind of the same things. Post more 3 to 5 times, do trial reels, do this, do that. But the thing is, like, you're probably at a stage now where you're posting content, maybe not every day, but very frequently, whether it's solely Instagram, you might use TikTok, you might post on YouTube, but you need to convert that attention. You get views and likes and this and that, but how are you converting it? They're not going to teach you that, right? So let's go through that. So in case you don't know any of these guys, Yuri Elkame, founder of Healthpreneur, Brian Mark, he's like pioneering Instagram space right now. James Smith, he's got 2 accounts, one which he did go viral on and then soon regretted and made a business account. And we're going to kind of cover that and the reasons why as well. Charlie Johnson, Dean Madden, Daniel Poulter, all really cool guys. But let's get into it because they teach a lot about content strategies, going viral, boosting engagement, reaching new audiences, inbound and front-end visibility. They teach loads about that. And most guys on Instagram, that's the premise of 90% of their content. But the problem is you're no longer just like a beginner coach. You're posting content. You're probably getting calls, you're getting clients. You're testing trial reels. You're handing out free PDFs, posting YouTube videos. Maybe you're running an email list, boosting follower ads, and you're probably getting calls. But is it repeatable? That's what we need to cover right now. And that's what you need to think about. Because do you know with 100% conviction who your next buyer will be, what your next buyer needs, when your next buyer will appear, or where your next buyer will even come from? Because if you don't, it's a problem. And the truth is, you don't have a system. Because you're going to run into one of these 3 problems, right? Because you could post the best piece of content in the world, and you could have all of the likes and views in the world. All you get are passive followers, other coaches, broke leads, and watchers, not buyers. And you could DM all of the leads that enter your ecosystem, but the response is just getting ignored. There's low trust. There's a lot of fence sitters. I don't know whether I should do this or not. They won't take the dive. And there's just a lot of silly excuses. And we all get objections, but it's getting too much. Like, we're struggling to get anywhere. And you could even have all of the most qualified leads that everybody loves to talk about. But now what? DMs die quickly. They hesitate. Progression stalls. And then even if you book a call, they'll flake. So what's going on here, and how are we going to fix this? So this is where I'm going to introduce to you my infinite buyers solution. This is the stranger to buyer formula. There's 3 steps: buyer filtration, buyer progression, buyer conversion. And I'm going to break down all 3 of these, and I'm going to give you, this is all based off experience, by the way. I'm going to go through real life scenarios. So but before we dive too deep, too quick, who the hell am I? Why should you listen to me? My name's Michael Coles. I've been helping online creators since 2010, doing different things. It started off as graphic design, then editing, then social media management. But more recently, I've been helping online fitness coaches since 2024. And that's through a mixture of design and editing, brand copywriting, email marketing, funnel building, and then business strategy. But nowadays, I build a system for online fitness coaches. This is called the Infinity Wheel, and it's designed to convert their audience into dream clients. And this is basically just a collection over the last 2 years of me trying all of these different things, failing, succeeding in different things. And basically, this is a repeatable system that I build from scratch for fitness coaches to convert their audience into dream clients. If you want to learn more about that, there's going to be a link in the description to another video where I go in much more detail into this system and how it actually works. Otherwise, let's go back to the video, the stranger to buyer formula. So we're going to start off with buyer filtration, then it'll be progression and conversion. So let's go with the scenario. You just made a post that's getting attention, it's getting likes, it's getting comments, it's getting shares, it's everything that you want. Now what? Well, you need to filter that attention, right? You're not an influencer. You're not just trying to go viral, checking your phone every hour, like, oh, yeah, more likes, more views. Well, what good is that when you're a business, right? But wait, hold on. I haven't even got that far. I don't know how to go viral. You don't go viral. And this is the common misconception. And it's a bit of a problem because I'm not being funny, right? These guys at the top here, they're brilliant. They know what they're doing. They know what they're talking about. Not all of them, but a lot of them talk about going viral all the time. And then they'll make another video, like 1 out of 10 videos that they post, in that one video, they'll say, actually, going viral is not really the way. But because they're trying to go viral, they talk about going viral. And this is a bit of a problem, and there's a lot of confusion about this. You don't go viral. If you're a business, you don't. You don't need 100,000 followers to build a business. You don't need the whole world to know your face, and you don't need more passive followers. We're trying to get away from all of that. What you need is a system. And this is a content system of attention, value, and proof. And you see these little squiggly lines in here, these are the filters. Because it's a content filter, right? The buyer filtration is done through content. You got attention, and we're going to go through this right now. We've got attention content, which filters down into value content, which then filters down. Leads are kind of slowly filtering through all the different types of content that you're posting. And by the end of it, if there are leads that have stuck around, that have gone through attention, they're consuming your value, they're looking at your proof, if they are deep inside of your ecosystem, and there's a way to make that happen. And if they're going through that, they are good, potentially good, qualified buyers, not passive followers, buyers. Now let's go for a real scenario. There's an online fitness coach called Samuel Ortegon. I have no relationship with this guy, but he is killing it in the game right now. So and this is a good example of a small follower. You don't need 100,000 plus followers. He's got 17,000 followers on Instagram. He's also building a YouTube, which I highly recommend to everyone watching. He's got 2,800 followers on YouTube. Okay, and he's got the perfect mixture of attention, value, and proof. And he's building it on both of these platforms. So we're going to go through that, and we're going to break down how he's doing it and why he's doing it. So these are the 3 pieces. The 10 best foods to get 10% body fat. How many videos have you seen like that on both YouTube and Instagram where they're just going through foods? It could be depending on your niche. I see a lot pop up. I think as a man, you're always going to see foods pop up about testosterone, because men are just targeted for things like that. They'll start talking about nuts, Brazil nuts, and avocado, and zinc, and God knows else what, right? So, and it's always interesting. Like, you don't need to be really concentrating. It's not about teaching them something new, but more than anything, it's just getting people to see you. Kind of like, these foods are going to be a bit about his opinion. A lot of it probably going to be science-based, and it's just going to be kind of things that most people already kind of knew anyway, but there might be 1 or 2 things that pop out, and they want to apply it for themselves, And then an Instagram version of this is just talking about his mindset on fitness when traveling, and he's just literally picked up the camera. He's just walking around on a beach somewhere abroad, and he's just talking about mindset. The thing about this is people get to know him in both of these videos, especially this one on Instagram, where it's just him talking to the camera. And he's talking about something broad. It's not super specific. It's just broad about mindset on fitness. People are able to connect with him. And once these guys watch it, the viewer just feels more motivated. After watching these videos, they want to apply some of these things to themselves, right? And then we got value. How to use fasting to burn body fat faster with 0 muscle loss. Do you see how that's a lot more specific of a video compared to this 10 best foods to get 10% body fat, right? He could have made that broader and just said 10 best foods to lose weight, but it's just about his brand, and at the end of the day, he talks a lot about body fat rather than just losing weight. So, but this is more specific. He's now talking about fasting, and you can see, like, in the thumbnail, he's got all these graphs. There's going to be like visual, scientific-based studies, data. This is value. This is more educational. And then an Instagram version, how to use glucose versus fructose. And these are words that we've seen a lot. We're probably just, even like kids in school in their science class have heard of this sort of thing, really. So when we're seeing things like that, it's like, and we got a whiteboard, so he's breaking it down. He's writing everything down. At the end of the day, this builds credibility. It provides value, and the viewer feels like they've learned something new. This is the purpose. Like, you don't just make videos. Like, you make videos with an intention, right? And these are the intentions he's set, and this is what he's aiming for. Then we got proof. How I lost 6% body fat, so a bit more specific, while gaining 5 pounds of muscle with less effort. So all of these getting more and more specific. And then even in the title, he's talking about his unique method, right? And then basically an Instagram version of this, more effort will never beat an improper system. And it's him right at the bottom there, basically green screen over, talking about his before and after transformation, right? So he's diving deep. So he shows the proof. He shows off the program. And for anyone who understands, this is an organic version of a VSL, not the Instagram, the YouTube. But yeah, both of these are ticking the other two boxes, showing the proof, showing the program. He's talking about the process. And, he probably does this with clients as well. But yeah, this is his content system. This is part one of the stranger to buyer formula. It's the buyer filtration. The filtration happens through content. So once people go through all of these, you can tell if someone's gone from attention to value, and then they're still watching and they've gone to proof, they're like, this guy's really interested in what this guy's doing. They really want to, they filtered themselves. You haven't, just forced them to book a call. Suddenly they've watched your video, and all of a sudden they're not just booking a call with you. You want them to watch your content so that they understand you before they show up on the call. Step two is buyer progression. So you've got attention. You've done that with your content. You've got attention, yes. You have leads, yes. You've educated them through value content, yes. They've seen your VSL, yes. So there's no proofs. They've literally, you're ticking all the boxes. They've gone through the whole system. So now it's time to dive into the conversation. This is where you can do numerous things, right? But you need to progress. That's the whole point of this. So we're going to invite them to a community. You could then follow up with value. Could build some rapport with them in numerous ways, and there is no right or wrong way to do this, but this is what you're doing in the DMs to progress the conversation. Not just like, or they've reached out from VSL inbound and you're like, right, cool, should we book a call? No, it doesn't kind of work like that. You need to you can try and force a call out of them, but they probably show up on the call completely unprepared, and you're like, I thought you were ready. You know what I mean? There's going to be a lot of friction on the sales call, right? So you need to kind of warm them up a little bit more, depending on where their journey. They might just be ready and they'll tell you straight up. But most of the time, that's not how it works. So also remember in these conversations that your time is valuable. We don't want to drag this out for a year. If we're talking, we're having a conversation, time is valuable. Try and aim for closure, whether it's a yes or a no, or quite follow up with them, make sure that you kind of got an idea of what's going on and the communication is there between you guys. But like I said, expect objections. You're going to have to handle some objections. It's not always going to be smooth sailing. Just think about these guys at the top, right? Even they get objections. Even they're going to have to handle things like this. They're aiming for closure. Just put the CEO hat, right? Just think about how to handle these things. And then lastly is buyer conversion. So once they're in your content flywheel, they'll see you every single day. And this is the cool thing about having content flywheels, right? They can't just forget about you. And you'll constantly stand out with valuable assets every time because you know what you're making in your content. So maybe they saw you from an ad, but either way, they see you on Instagram, right? And then they see you posted a YouTube video, and then they open their Gmail because they've ordered a new hoodie and they just happen to see you in your email, right? You're in their inbox. And then every time they open social media, they just see an ad running. They go on Facebook, they go on Instagram, they see you. They go on Facebook, they see you. You open their inbox, they see you. They read the email, you send them to a YouTube video. And then every time they open YouTube, they get recommended your videos. It's like there's no escape. It doesn't matter what they do, they're going to see you, right? So they're always thinking about you. They're like, this guy, and his content's on point. You know what I mean? So it's and he really stands out because he knows what he's doing with his content. And that's the point. The content flywheel was working for him. Now, let's just say from stranger to buyer, Typically, there'll be an ad, and then they'll check out the profile, and then they'll click a link and watch your VSL and send you a DM and chat and book a call. Right? If we're going to make it super simple, that's kind of the process. In an ideal world, could convert in an hour, but it could take up to 48 hours. Typically, like from a hot lead, we're going to say you got cold, warm, and hot. From a hot lead, it could take 48 hours. For some, it could take months. They might just need to watch your content for months. For some, it could take a year, but you're not really worried about them. You're not really trying to push these ones for converting it. When you're having these conversations, you need to get an idea of, like, just through the conversation, where they're at in their journey, what they're thinking, their goals, what they've tried. Through various conversations, you'll understand. You'll get a feel for, like, okay, this guy's going to take a while, or no, this guy's not ready, or this guy's a long way. I'm not even going to entertain him, right? And you'll get a feel for that in the conversation. And then another thing to take note of with this whole content system, because at the end of the day, this content system runs while you sleep, like while you're focusing on completely new leads. Like, this content system's just warming them up in the background, right? Now, there's a study that's been out. It's been out for a couple of years or so now. Google's 7-11 rule, and their study has basically said, and this applies to a lot of guys that are in high ticket. So high ticket coaching, people typically, because high tickets are considered purchase as well, but people, like any premium offers, people are going to want to see like 7 hours of your content over 11 touch points in like 4 locations. We got 4 locations right here, right? Instagram, ads, YouTube, email. You could do an extra one here, like school, like you don't have to, but and that's typical. But also in the DMs, like there's different kind of types of locations, right? So over 11 touch points, so they're probably going to want to see a bunch of Instagram reels, so which they're going to see some emails, some YouTube. 11 touch points is quite easy to achieve, and the locations and the touch points, they're the easiest too. It's the 7 hours that takes a while. People don't always, like, if you're going to sign them within 48 hours, they're not going to watch 7 hours of your content before they book a call. But you're going to do your best to make sure they're watching as much content, to make sure that they're prepared for the call, right? Like, you're not going to drag it on. But the 7 hours, this is where email and YouTube, especially YouTube, really comes into play. Just going to put a money sign there, just because, right? This is where it really comes into play, because how many Instagram reels has someone got to watch to see 7 hours? And I'm going to tell you, it's between about 500 to 750 Instagram reels to get to 7 hours, roughly, compared to how many YouTube videos, which could be roughly 10 to 20, maybe 15, depends on the length of the videos that you're doing. So there's a bit of context. Let's just say, let's compare 500 videos to 20. Yeah, these are longer videos and they take a bit longer to make. Like this one right here, like I could have just whipped on a camera and talked about this entire thing in 30 seconds. It'd have been damn near impossible, actually. But that's why these YouTube videos are so valuable, because you get a deep dive into a lot of information, right, that you're actually interested in. If any of you guys are watching right now, you're clearly interested in this type of content. At the end of the day, this type of system is actually valuable to you. You're going to want to do this for yourself, right? So these are just some things to think about. So that is the stranger to bioformula. Biofiltration, progression, conversion. You don't need to go viral. You just need a good mixture of content. You need to progress them through conversations, community, building rapport, providing value, and then letting the content let the content wheel do its thing. So you need to be keeping on top of content. The more, the merrier, because we want different locations, as many touch points as possible, and as many hours as possible. So if you're interested in what I talked about earlier, my infinity wheel system, which I'll show you again right here, that I built for fitness coaches to convert their audience into dream clients, I will leave a link down below. Check the description. Or if you want to talk to me right now, have a conversation, DM me the word brand on Instagram. There'll be another link in the description where you can just click the link and it'll take you to my profile, and I'll talk about how I can help you. But that's all for today. Hope it helps. Until next time.